Don't make me pick somebody because I'm gonna pick somebody.
You don't have to pick nobody.
There you go.
Okay. Um, I hate to jump around, but we had to hold our questions. So you said at the beginning that for every 10 women, 9. So what does that one do? That one that goes home alone, what are they supposed to do?
I guess you just go home alone. I can't help
okay.
I can't help that one woman. That ain't.
Okay.
I mean, I think 90% of women be happy, but you gotta realize some of those women are in jail, and some of those women
you said free. You said free on your slide.
No, I was saying you saying 9 out of 10. Well, yeah, you're right. I did say, but so I see what you're saying. But yeah, hey, don't worry about that one woman. I mean, like I said, there's 9 good men out there. But if you had came to the High Museum, you might have been one of the lucky 9.
I didn't come because I'm old and my knee was hurt. Because I had my outfit picked out.
That's what a good dude is for. A good man to rub out that knee for you.
Okay. I could see some of the things that you were saying. A couple of things for me. One is I totally agree that you have to have love. I had a couple of conversations over the last week about this because I think that people say it as if it's something easy because it's talked about so much in scripture and we say it so much, but loving people is very difficult. It's very hard. It is a huge sacrifice because you have to set aside your prejudices, your judgments. You have to set aside the fact that you don't even freaking like the person, but you still got to love them. Now, unfortunately or fortunately, as people, women or men, we have to find a way to live in this world. And I see the points of, things, but what I've always looked at in those situations is women like stability. And so if they don't have it from their partner, they're going to establish it for themselves. They're going to fill the void. Now, some will just leave and find somebody else to give it to them. But some, and I guess they're considered strong women, are like, well, if I can only depend on myself right now, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make my life stable because I'm not going to live unstable until I find somebody to do that for me. But that doesn't mean that when they get into a situation where they can find that stable partner, that they can adjust. But it's just a matter of, am I going to wait and be uncomfortable and wondering, or am I going to go ahead and provide for myself? Because I wasn't trying to kiss no frogs, but I was the other girl. I was not trying to be, I grew up with a traditional male-female role model setting. And and now when my father was in school, my mom worked so much. I don't remember her being around when I was little. But once he graduated and did his residency and all that, she didn't work at all anymore. It was just a matter of what we traditionally, I guess maybe older people think of, you work together as a couple to establish your life together. And that takes whatever it takes. But to kind of lump it all in and say, well, you're just kind of seeking things. I had to work hard and move up because I had to get my kids off beans and rice. I had to feed my kids. I had to be able to pay all my bills every month, not just the cutoff notices. So it was a matter of necessity. But at the same time, there wasn't this lack of desire or me thinking, especially since I had children, I've understood the need for that balance. God created a husband and a wife, or a father and a mother, because they need both. But you can't just sit by and wait for something, that might not come, and life goes on. You still need to feed yourself. You still need to provide for yourself. If you have children, you still need to do that. And it is sometimes hard not to become bitter in the situation. But I think that it's different to keep that loving spirit than it is to still be strong and take care of your business and do what you have to do, so that you're not just waiting for somebody to take care of you.
No, I mean, that's true. I mean, like I said, I'm not really trying to encourage women to look for men to sweep in and be that prince and take them away. That's why I was trying to really point out the issue. And you can see it in Tiana's father. He says, go get your dream, baby girl. But then he's basically like, but do not forget what's important. And in the very next shot, we see him hugging his wife, who was actually voiced by Oprah Winfrey. Somebody was talking about Terrence Howard being the father. But, so we see that. And so what he's really saying is just don't forget love. But see, Tiana was so focused on money that's all she did. Like if you watch the whole movie, all the beginning, they'll go continue. So all the beginning is just her focusing on this restaurant. That's all she cares about. She does not date. She does not go out. Okay, all she's focused. So your situation, Tashawn, is a little bit different. What we have in Atlanta, we got so many boss B type of women that I'm a CEO, I'm a this, I'm a that, look at me. I'm not talking about the woman that is basically out here trying to feed her family. She's trying to do the right thing, unless she's getting caught up in the money side of things. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with having money. There's nothing wrong with wanting nice things. But it's kind of like if you got a 3-bedroom house, you got 2 kids, and each one of them got their own room. They both got cars. Like you say, you're paying off your bills at the end of the month. You plus another $500-$600 is hitting the bank. And then you're like, well, you know what? When my kids leave, I want to move into a 6-bedroom house. And I want to go get this other thing. And people say that they don't want that, but we see it over and over and over again. And it might not be that grandiose of an example, but a lot of times, even on a small level, we're running, we can see it with men and women where they will get in that mode. And see, the problem is for women, when men get in that mode, it's much easier for them to find women that are still more of that quote unquote Hollywood romantic type of persona. But when women get into that energy, it's very difficult for them, and it can be difficult for multiple reasons. And that's kind of what I was trying to say. Some of it is just like I say, some women are just not as attracted to that hardworking guy. They're just not. They don't think he's fun. They don't think he's exciting. But then they'll have that dude that comes over and he's fun, he's silly, he this and that. And like I say, he's still working on his rap career. And then you end up taking care of him. So what is it really about? Because if you're 30 plus and you're a woman and you're taking care of a man, okay, you're out, everything's out of order. Everything's out of order. A woman should not be taking care of a man unless he is like finishing up college and y'all are getting his doctorate and y'all been together for 7 years or something like that. So I'm trying to hit home on those types of points of, like I say, those types of women that will go in deep, and then, or the ones that forget in the very beginning of what's really important in life. And like I say, men can get caught up in it as well.
I just think that saying strong women is a little too general, because that that's broad. So you have women that they're trying to take care of things, and then you have ones that are just extremely ambitious. And I don't think that's necessarily the same thing, because I can see where some people, where they're focused on, that like they've set aside everything else in life for their career, and that's their whole life. And then I see people where they do all that so they can have a life. Like they, like I need to be able to pay for Cancun. I need to be able to do these things. And so because I want to enjoy my life, or I want to go and do these things. I work hard so I can play hard, type of a thing.
Yeah, but I also...
They're different types of strong women.
Well, yeah, but I also would say too, and that's kind of what I was saying in the beginning, even the label of strong or independent, I encourage women to drop that label. Okay, if I have to take care of my family, I got to take care of my family. I'm a guy, I got to take care of my family. Why do I need to say I'm a strong man? Because I'm taking care of my family. I'm a man, I'm taking care of my family. You're a woman, you're taking care of your family. That's all you have to say. You don't have to put the label. See, that label is what we need to get away from. That label, and I said that at the very beginning, I said independent, but I kind of use independent and strong, the same thing. You don't need to tell me that, Tashawn, that you love your children and that you want to take care of your children. You don't need to put strong in front of that. You're a woman, you're educated, you're smart. That to me is just a natural occurrence. Whether you put the label in front of you of strong or not, you can handle it. You don't need to add that extra, to you. You're awesome, just being Tashawn. That's why we love having you around.
I agree, but I don't use the label, but it is applied to me quite often, and it's applied, and then these types of things follow, these things that don't fit me, that are presumptuous, because it is a label, and labels come with the definitions that don't necessarily fit. So I agree, the labels should go.
Okay. Katina, did you have something you want to say? Go ahead.
I do. I definitely do. So everything that both of you are saying is 100% great. However, I would say that we have to look at it this way. Each of us come from a diverse of background, and not just racially, but I'm saying economically. We have to view life from the glasses that we were given. How I would perceive something is definitely going to be totally different how you would maneuver it. Many of us did not choose to be single parents, if there are some of you who are. When you had your children, you thought of happily ever after. In the case of Tiana with Princess of the Frog, how that ministered to me was, Tiana said, I did see my father in the household. I do know I have a relationship with my father. And I'm going to put a quarter in the meter real quick on that part. Men, y'all do have the strongest responsibility that I think is oftentimes very undervalued. You have to carry the weight of the world. You have to be strong for you. You also have to be that role model. You're also put as that protector, that provider. And oftentimes the glasses that you are given, sometimes that's not the view that you're shown. So some men do not know how to navigate in certain areas of where they may fall short. With that being said, Tiana, and again, this is what I'm saying, how it ministered to me. Tiana, what was important for her was living out her father's dream and wish. So she, as many of us women do, we remove ourselves to make sure somebody else is happy. So that's what I got from that. It wasn't to say that she didn't want marriage. It wasn't to say that she didn't want to be happy. It was, my father isn't here, but I still want to make him proud by making sure that his fruition came true. That was her focus. That was what she drove her energy into, because her father made sure that her mother and her were loved. They had what they needed. They didn't live in the best of neighborhoods, but as I've always heard people say, I didn't know I was broke till somebody told me. Her mother worked at the doggone governor's mansion, but Tiana was very much fulfilled in her life because those are the things that she had. Now, when Prince Naveen or Navad, whatever his name was, came along, his glasses are, I was inherited into this life. I'm not ashamed. I'm not bragging, boasting, but this is what I came into. He didn't mind sharing it. And his parents at a later age was saying, hey, you a spoiled, rotten child. We about to cut you off. But they didn't give him the tools in how to navigate, how to be independent. So when we're choosing people, and I said this once before on another session that we had, relationships are an interview process. Every last one of you are HR managers. When you look at a resume, don't take it at first glance that they qualified for that job. You got to do your reference checks to make sure that they are capable of filling whatever position that you need them to fulfill. I'm to the point where I'm tired of the gender labels. A man's supposed to do this, a woman's supposed to do this. First, let's communicate so I can tell you where I'm weak at, and you can see if you can pour into me to make me strong, and vice versa. That's where it should always be. I know who I am. I know what I walk in. I know what I possess. I should never have to tell any man that, because you're going to already see it. And if you can't see it, well, I'm going to give you a different pair of glasses, and then we're going to keep moving. But that's just the method of it. Many people make dating so complicated when it's really not. I'm going to tell you who I am. I'm going to tell you what it's going to take to love me, nurture me, attend to me, and I need you to do the same. If I'm unable to do it, well, thank you for the interview. I wish you well in your endeavors. Because I'm saying I'm 44. I don't have time to play with you. Go play with your kids. I just don't. So there are certain expectations and requirements that I need you to already have met. And if you are not capable of doing it, I understand. Here are some references that I can give you. If you choose to entertain them, by all means, but you're not going to be the person for me. If I have to bully you in a relationship, and I'm not no bully, I'm not a punk either, but we're just not going to work. So it has to be stated in the beginning. Here is what I come with. For all women who come with whatever degrees, whatever took place in your life that you feel you have to excel, then that's fine. But let's see how that other person can counterbalance that with you. With the point of Tiana, her focus was, my father isn't here. I want to execute what he tried to give me and my mother. And that's what I took from it, but you know.
Hey, I mean, that's what we discuss. Like I say, for all the people that's new to CSC, we always discuss that. This is half the fun, is to sit around, discuss it, make sure all those ideas are given out. And we love to hear from you. And I know somebody had their hand up and she put it down, Miss Douglas. Do you want to say something, Miss Douglas, before I go to somebody else? Valika, I'm hoping I'm saying your name right. Okay, well, maybe she is not in a position to talk. Come on, Sean B. Talk to us.
Hello. Hey, I got to say that that last comment there, well, that was said that it's it's way more it's been dating is way more complicated than it should be, or something of that nature. I totally agree with that. But what I rose my hand for is, dating, with our topic. I think subconsciously, to some extent, hypergamy probably plays a role, even if you don't mean it to play a role. And the example I'll use and is like with my ex-wife. When I was 36 and was working in my career, she was a 23-year-old college woman, and then over the time, um, when we were married, I got laid off a year late. I was still able to provide, whether I had unemployment or was getting was working a menial job. And then a year later from marriage, she graduates. A few months later, gets a job working in her field, works her way up in that. And for years, I was very underemployed because of what happened in the late 2000s and early 2010 when we had the Great Recession. So long story short, I believe that as time went on and she was improving in her life and mine in a sense went down, she was not looking up to me the same as she did when we first married. Okay, I'll any thoughts on that?
It sounds like to me that at one point you were strong and then you felt weak and she didn't know how to navigate and adapt to that. Am I semi correct?
I think so. I'm thinking it's I'm thinking it's subconscious because she never ever downed me for being underemployed, because I was, in one way or another, I was always able to provide and bring to the table in either way. And she always knew I was looking for something better and to get back into my field. And she always backed me up 100% of that. But I feel subconsciously, without thinking about it on either of our sides, she didn't see me as strong as she used to be, even though I was still a man. But I think she was in, at least professionally, she had exceeded me since she got married, and that's part of the reason she was not looking up to me like she used to. And I think that wasn't the main part of our downfall, but I think that might have been played part of it. And with hypergamy, I mean, think about it. More women nowadays are they're a lot more equal with men professionally than they were 60 years ago, when they were either housewives or working part-time jobs. Don't get me wrong, motherhood and staying at home is still a job. I mean, I'm not going to deny that. But nowadays, women and men are pretty much equal in what they do in the workforce, but the hypergamous nature is still there. So if more women are up there with men professionally, then it's going to be harder to find a man that would satisfy that hypergamous nature and be more than what she is, so to speak.
Well, one of the things I'll say to Sean real quick, just to kind of sum up, I think the overall, because I mean, we understand from a societal perspective, because what we're talking about is society. And you have that whole thing, and I know a lot of people have heard this line before, what's mine is mine, and what's yours is mine. And, that used to be a little joke, that women would say, what's mine is mine, and what's yours is mine. And I do think you have a lot of men who, quote unquote, get wealth or get money because they want to get women. They're looking that money's going to go away to the woman. That's how you get the woman. Where I think for a lot of women, once they get the money, they don't really see the point of the man. And we've always talked about this on this group. about how a lot of times what happens many times is that women, it's very difficult for many of them to date guys very far underneath their financial place. So if they're making $70,000 a year, they don't want to date a guy making 35. Okay, they want him to at least make 70. And so that plays again to that whole thing that money is so important. Money, because we have to be real. And the Bible talks about money. Money is the number one thing that's talked about by Jesus in the New Testament. Every single preacher has probably told you that, because money is power. Money is power. And so when you're seeking money, you're seeking power, whether we want to say it directly or indirectly. And like I said, the Bible says, and God says, wherever you put your treasure, that's where your heart is. Okay, so if you are dating a man and you are like, well, I am going to buy him clothes and I'm going to buy him this and I'm going to buy him that, then your treasure is in him. But if you got a man and you like, I ain't giving you nothing, I ain't spending none of my money on you, you or whatever, then it's a difference. Now, I'm not saying you got to be that way. That's not my point. My point is that I think for a lot of, women that have gone after that money so high, and like I said, we've seen them come to CSC. It's very difficult for them to date, because now if the man ain't making X, Y, Z, because see, they don't appreciate the little gifts. Like I was really thinking about the lady that was the CEO, and I remember Tashawn going real kind of hard on her, because she came in, she was, a VP or whatever, and she was dating this guy that was making like 50 grand, and she was making almost $250,000. And she wanted to be able to go to Ruth Chris and all these places like that to eat, and he didn't have that kind of cash. And that bothered her. He could not give her this lifestyle. So what was she after? Was she after love, or was she after this lifestyle? And she literally went back and forth with us on this panel for like 15 minutes, trying to find a way around what she wanted. Because the truth is, she was in love with the lifestyle. If she was in love with him, if he had taken her to Applebee's, she would have been like, girl, boy, this burger tastes so good. Thank you for taking me out. You always make me feel so good. Because when you love somebody and they write you a poem, they took the time to write you that poem, and you are in love with them for doing that. But when you're in love with money, then it's like, oh, boo, you got me a diamond bracelet. Oh. Because it's two totally different concepts. Valika, you ready now?
Well, I think on that with I think that they should know what they're getting into. I mean, when you meet somebody and you date them a few times, you see what kind of car they drive or how they live. That's most likely going to be the lifestyle y'all are going to live, and you have to take it or leave it.
Well, I think you balance it. Like I said, when you get married, it ain't your money, and I'm gonna tell all the women that
I agree.
Women got money. Okay, when you get married, ain't your money no more. It's both people's money. Okay, because you are united as one. Ladies, one, you're united as one. So all y'all, if y'all making 6 figures and you marry a dude that makes $20,000, he gonna be like, what? I make 6 figures now. Because he hooked into you. And if you're not okay with that, then you're in love with money. You're not in love with him, and you don't need to get married to him. But Valika has something to say, so we're gonna listen to Valika. Come on.
So first of all, I'd like to say this is a great video or webinar, and also say that the video was very insightful. I don't think I've ever looked at The Princess and the Frog the same way. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. But I wanted to talk about the fact that, okay, so I joined the Army. First thing I heard, one of the guys I knew is like, what can I do for you as a guy? He was like, you have a car, you have a house, you have all these nice things. So what is it that I would be able to offer you? And I was like, there's plenty you could offer me. I'm looking for a partner, a person just because I was able to get these things or do these things, they're just things. But there's also this perception for some men on how they have. So a lot of men are intimidated by looking at a woman that has these things because they would sometimes prefer to be with a woman that don't have these things or aren't on that place. And I started doing this not because I was trying to get things. It was just to be able to survive. And I'm a single, mother now, but my auntie mom. I'm taking care of my niece. But I mean, through my whole dating experience, I was judged based off of my appearance and how I carry myself, but not necessarily about me getting things. Because that's not who I am. I'm very family oriented. I love family. But I think there's another thing that we need to look at too. A lot of men see us, have a perception of us too, in a certain way, which is totally not where we are. There's just something they want to tell. They're telling us this and putting these things in our mind, saying that, oh, there's nothing I can do for you, or there's nothing where am I going to fit? So they're automatically looking for a woman that's more needy. Or
I mean, I get you. Yeah, I definitely get that. I
so
mean, you can't do nothing with an insecure dude. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So that I'm just saying that's a lot of times I think women are seeing that too. And a lot of women don't go around pounding themselves as independents. Like you said, if you walk in it or you are doing, you're doing yourself in your life and you volunteer and you're family oriented and stuff like that, I don't think you mean to seem as if you're getting things or whatever. That just comes along with the process of being a better person. Because for me, I feel like we should, as a person, should always be changing and growing. We should never be stagnant as a person. I'm always trying to develop. I'm always trying to learn things. And I think those things come with it, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
Yeah, it's not necessarily that I think a lot of women are trying to get things. They just come because, as I learned, renting isn't better. Owning your own house is better, right? So I think as I continued to go to classes and I educated myself and I became more, well-rounded, I think that's who I became, but it's not who I am as far as things. But I think a lot of people have that impression of women as a whole, and it really isn't who we are. We're looking for love. We're looking for someone to meet us. But a lot of times when you do become successful, you are going to have people that tend to prey on you that are looking for what you can do for them.
Yeah, and but one of the things that I want to make sure that we really understand here, and I saw your hand up, Natalie. I don't know if you still want to keep it up. I mean, I'll call on you after I call on Mr. Jason. But it's about how you identify yourself. Okay, see, you can identify yourself in multiple categories. In fact, me and Sean, we were out last night, and we were out just sitting around talking after we came back from the High Museum, which again, all of you guys need to come in November. There was a lot of singles there. But one of the things that we were talking about is the fact that there are different people, different strokes for different folks. There's different people. Okay, while I am African American, I'm not from New York. Okay, I am from Tennessee. And the way that I approach dating and things like that, I don't have the same swag as Sean has. Not to say that there's anything wrong with Sean's swag or that there's anything wrong with my swag. We have two totally different swags. If I go up and I talk to a lady and she does not feeling me, she might be like, well, you're a loser, you this, you that, whatever. But then let me get around the women that like my style and they just giggling and they just, oh my gosh, you're the good man. I've been looking all over. So the point I'm trying to make here is this. A lot of times, like, to Sean's case, somebody's trying to give her a label, but you don't have to accept that label. There's plenty of women out here in Atlanta that if I talk to them, they will be like, you are a loser. You are a loser, dude. Get out of my face. You know, you don't talk like I want you to talk. You don't act like I want you to act. You're not working like I want you to work it. But then I get around other women and they are ecstatic. And it's the same thing for Sean. Sean can get around some women, it's just gonna be, well, he probably could knock out all the women. He's just awesome like that. But you know, I know for me, it's not like that. So I guess my point is I've learned not to accept a label that's not for me. The Bible says that an undue curse is not going to fall upon, you know, the wrong person. So don't allow yourself, don't allow the devil to basically push you in a situation where you think you're part of that curse. You let that curse, you know, slide on by because that ain't got nothing to do with you. And you just keep on hustling. Come on, Mr. Jason.
Hello, it's my first time with you guys.
Welcome.
So before I say what I wanted to say, I do want to just like point out one thing that Tetchen said that I thought was really awesome. She said that sometimes you don't like the person, but you still have to love them. And I think that's a big part of like, that's not something you have to do before marriage. Definitely not. If you don't like them, you shouldn't stick with them. But after marriage, you know, it doesn't matter how much you like the person, you still have to choose to love them. And that gets lost in marriages a lot. But the one thing I did want to say was, I think there's been a lot of a highlight on if a man is married to a woman who is the provider for the family and he's at home, then he's just a lazy person. And that may be true for like 90% of cases, but that's not always entirely true. And I just kind of want to highlight myself as an example, because I used to be a civilian military employee in Germany. And I was practically raised in Germany, military dad. And so I started with the NAV system, worked MWR, APs, all that stuff. And I held 3 full-time jobs. I was the Awana commander in Europe. And I did volunteer acting in a live theater in the MWR for the soldiers there. And I did all that and networked and worked as hard as I did because I wanted the college level degree, but I didn't want to get the college level debt. So I put in all that hard work. I networked with people, and I finally got to a point where that job was offered to me. Unfortunately, at the same time, I met a girl online, and everything she had said about herself, all of her beliefs and everything was exactly what I was looking for. And what I'm looking for is almost impossible to find in a girl nowadays. So I was like, I've got 2 choices here. I can go for what I've always wanted, or I can go for what I feel like I need in my life. But she wasn't willing to move to where I was because her career was important to her. She was about to get her master's degree and she wanted to be a teacher. And if she finished getting her degree, then she was legally required to stay there for 3 years. And she flat out told me she was not willing to wait 3 years. If she had to wait 3 years to marry me, she was just going to drop me. And I made the dumb decision of giving up my dream and coming to Alabama to marry her. But I didn't have a college degree. And I didn't have all the networking. And so I couldn't get to the $60K a year level without that college degree in Birmingham. So all I could do was part-time jobs, you know, the typical, you know, $8, $9 an hour jobs, whereas she was able to make the money. She was able to bring in the, health insurance with her job. And as a teacher, you know, teachers have great health insurance. But she was also very controlling, something I didn't see in our relationship. So she refused to let me get a college degree while we were married. And so 10 years later, she tells me she wants an open marriage or a divorce. And I've been the stay-at-home dad this entire time to our 3 kids. So I ended up going with, of course, the divorce because I'm not going to agree to an open marriage. But within 1 week of us deciding to go through with the divorce, I had 2 part-time jobs. By the end of the year, I had 3 part-time jobs. I eventually dropped one of them to start a trade skill course. So I eventually found myself working 12-hour overnights on a full-time job while doing 10 hours worth of classes each day, trying to fit in homework and getting about 2-3 hours of sleep. Now I've got my front-end certification as a software engineer. So I'm still doing my 12-hour overnights at my full-time job. And I've got some personal clients that I work during the day while I'm trying to get my foot in the door to have a full-time job as a software engineer. So a lot of men, they may take the option of being that stay-at-home parent because it's financially feasible, or they marry the kind of person who is controlling and they just don't see it, and they find themselves under their thumb but not recognizing they're being controlled. But they can still be hard workers. They're just maybe blinded by love, blinded by what they want in life, and just find themselves in a situation that they don't understand or know how to regain who they are in the middle of.
No, I agree. I mean, I thank you for sharing that. I really do. I appreciate that. I think that that goes into some of what we were talking about, and also, you know, a little bit of what Sean B was talking about, you know, because he talks about sometimes the hypergamy type stuff. That actually could be a whole other presentation, you know, what you just brought up, Mr. Jason. I mean, I do think that that was really good. Adazi, I'm gonna kind of skip you 1 second because I know Natalie had her hand up before. And to Sean, if it's okay, in about 10 minutes, I'm gonna let you be the presenter, if that's okay. Come on, Natalie.
Hey, so there was a lot of things that were spoken, so I'm trying to see which one to really bring back up to the surface. So to talk about the videos and the clips that you had shown earlier, like when the two frogs were like sitting on the boat and talking about her restaurant and stuff, that if it was real life, I feel like that's like the classic, you know, meeting people where they are and just not really having the mental space to handle a relationship, basically. So like, for instance, so she lost her dad and she's having a void, someone mentioned, and she's trying to fill it, right? So with her not having the restaurant and he meeting her in that type of situation, she's not focused on a relationship. She's focused on, you know, grind mode. So I think it's really important to keep in mind when you're meeting someone and where they are in that space and time, because they could be distracted, you know, trying to get things done in their personal life. And she basically, in my eyes, friend zoned him because she's not really looking for a relationship, because she's so intent and focused on improving her life that it didn't matter if it was him or somebody else. The fact is, she was going to friend zone anyone that came in that relationship because she's not at the mental space to kind of like breathe life into that, because she's so preoccupied. So, you know, that's in real life. That happens all the time. Like if you're not in a relationship and you could make time for it, but if you find that there are certain things that's in your life that you're not unhappy about and you're trying to improve, you might lose sight of people that are trying to come into your life and try to, you know, be in a relationship where you're just, you know, going to friend zone them because you're distracted. So I feel like that is kind of like a situation where I feel like maybe if she had her restaurant and he came at that point in time when she was like relieved and not having to stress about that, if he came in her life at that point in time, it would have been probably a different narrative. Maybe she would have been like, oh, this person is, you know, I could look at him romantically and start something from there. So that was one thing. And the other thing is, you mentioned something about, you know, having a woman being very successful, having 6 figures and dating someone that's making 30 grand a year. For me, it's not so. I could see and or understand or empathize why someone would find that troublesome, like in the sense where, you know, they are feeling like, oh, I can't date someone that's making that much money. It's really not, for me, the money aspect of it is like what money brings freedom, in my opinion. Like if you are making 6-figure incomes, you might have more so the flexibility to travel where you want, to go wherever you want, to eat wherever you want. So to make reference to the lady you were talking about who, you know, makes $250,000. So it was difficult for her to date someone that's making 50 grand, because if she does want to go to Roof Chris, she doesn't want to feel like every single time it's her pocket, it's her money that's stretching to pay for that. So I don't think it's a money thing or even just a lifestyle thing, but it's just, you know, certain things bring you happiness. Like for somebody like her, going to a nice expensive restaurant, dressing up, looking cute, is part of her happiness. So she might have felt like she might have probably, in most cases, had to downgrade her happiness to kind of meet someone because of love. So that is a really tight situation, I feel, for anybody to be in, because yes, you want love, but is it going to cost you your happiness in certain parts of your life? Are you willing to sacrifice that? That's the battle that I feel like, women can have sometimes.
Well, I mean, thank you for that, Natalie, and I love having you around. I'm actually about to give this over to Shashawn because I'm running out of time. And I know people are going to have a lot of questions for you based off what you just said, so be ready for that. But I will say this on what you said, at least how I'm perceiving what you said on the second part. You said that, the lady that's the VP, she wants to go to Ruth Chris and, she wants to dress up, she wants to go up nice, but she doesn't, want to pay always for him. And the whole thing is, if the shoe was on the other foot, if she was dating a VP that's a man and she had been, I don't know, a waitress, he would not have had a problem picking up the tab over and over and over and over forever. When I was married, I was mainly the person that made the money. I was literally giving my ex-wife was literally getting $30,000 worth of benefits every year just because she was married to me. I did not grow tired of that. When you are in love with somebody and when you are the protector provider, that is what you do. That is the literal role. It is to protect and it is to provide your money. So if I'm dating a woman, if I'm dating Oprah Winfrey, okay, and we go out to eat, every single time she needs to be able to pick up the tab, every single time, because she makes the money. That's how that works. So I think that's why we're having the problem. That's why we're having the discussion. Because from a male perspective, we don't have a problem with picking up the tab. But from a female's perspective, a lot of women do have a problem picking up the tab, even if they're making the money.
And I'm
gonna leave it. I'm gonna let y'all talk. Tashawn is now your moderator. She's gonna tell y'all, what to do and what not to do.
Can I make a comment before you do that?
Okay.
Go ahead, RJ.
I know I'm coming in sort of late on the end of it, but I just had a thought when Natalie was responding, and I was thinking that one of the things that you might want to consider is that people want to deal with people who are exhibiting the same level of energy. They're living at a certain level of energy, or you might say on my level, because it's just like educationally. I know in my past, when I would date someone who was not at the same educational background, we would not have that much in common, and it just never really worked. So sometimes it's not about money, it's more like dealing with people who are on that same energy level that you are on. So I think that might be something to think about as